Welcome back to Joe Stunner Boxing. Before I go any further, I want to say rest in peace to Rick Buckler, who was the drummer in a band called The Jam. If you are of my age, you will know, you will understand the importance of this band, or you may do. Not everyone of my age was into them, but I'm sure I'm not the only one who was. Definitely know that for a fact. Massively influential band. An entire catalogue of magnificent songs that are truly timeless and that were so vital and released so quickly, one after the other in only a few years. That band produced so many great records. So Mr. Buckler passed away, what was it? Yesterday, I think. Rest in peace, Rick. Thanks for the memories, mate. Anyway, let's talk boxing. ARTUR BETERBIEV and DMITRII Bivol have a rematch. You may have heard about this. And it headlines the incredible Riyadh card, 22nd of February, which is this coming Saturday. You don't really need me to introduce either of these guys, do you? I mean, their first fight was one of the best fights of last year, extremely technical, and yet at the same time, you were on tenterhooks wondering who was going to win because you had two contrasting styles. And yet at the same time, it was a question of, they were both so good at their respective styles. The question was, who's going to implement their style on the other ones? Who's going to contain the opponent's skills, undoubted skills, and be able to sort of impose their own skills on the opponent? Well, it was what many consider to be a controversial decision. I don't know whether I would use that word. But as it turned out, Beterbiev picked up all four belts. He held three of them and he won the WBA title, which was held by Bivol, into the bargain to become undisputed champion. Beterbiev, now 40 years of age, originally from Russia, has lived in Canada. I believe he's a Canadian citizen also. He became the undisputed champ with a very, very hard-fought majority decision. 116, 112, 115, 113, and 114, 114 were the cards. Bivol disputed this. I actually had Bivol winning, I can't remember, it was 2 points maybe. But you know what? It was such a great fight, and it was such a privilege to watch two blokes at the absolute height of their powers. I mean, I know people are going to say, well, Beterbiev was he 39 at the time, 40 maybe? I mean, this was back in October of last year, wasn't it? Mid-October, roughly. He may have been past his best a little bit. Whereas Bivol, who is only 34, which, again, is not ancient, but, maybe if he'd been a bit younger, Beterbiev could have beaten Bivol easier, maybe even stopped him. This is all if and ands were pots and pans. We just don't know this, do we? But both guys fought magnificently, and I ain't got a problem with Beterbiev getting the decision, even though I thought Bivol edged it. The question is it repeat or revenge, as they call it? Well, stylistically, you're talking, like I mentioned, the two contrasted styles. You've got Beterbiev, who's the come-forward big puncher, the big banger. This was the first time he'd gone the distance in 21 fights, 20 KOs, previously 20 wins, 20 KOs. A real wrecking machine. And Bivol, probably a smaller man, you might say. Extremely skillful, doesn't even try to knock you out. Well, when I say that, I mean, he got rid of Malik Zainad, who was, decent for undefeated fighter, undefeated in 22. He stopped him in 6 rounds. But Zainad wasn't really anywhere near Bivol's level. Prior to that, he'd floored Lyndon Arthur but couldn't get rid of him. He scored a string of 12-round decisions. John Pascal, Isaac Chilemba, Craig Richards, of course. Alvarez, good old Canelo, beat him, didn't he? Joe Smith Jr. I mean, these were all 12-round decisions. He does 12 rounds, Bivol, like it's no problem. He perfectly paces himself, has that excellent engine and poise and skill and variety and high ring IQ. And he doesn't really try and knock you out. So even though he's only got 12 KOs in 23 wins, he probably hits harder than you might think. He's from Kyrgyzstan, but is based in California, has been for some time now, some years now. And so, yeah, they are the polar opposite of styles. I mean, Beterbiev, as an amateur, fought at heavyweight, not super heavyweight, but heavyweight. And the fact that he is 40 and still making 175 and does it not easily, but to the point where he can retain his energy and even if he is, slightly over the hill, I mean, he's still an incredible fighter. The fact that he can do that shows an immense amount of discipline. He lives the life. I think he's a devout Muslim. Just a very, very good fighter. They're both good, aren't they? So you've got the come forward. What can I add that has not been said before that I didn't add to my original prediction for the first fight? I mean, you've got the come forward, skillful. Don't overlook Beterbiev's skills. Great jab, quicker feet than you might think. Than is often noticeable. Puts that constant pressure on you. I mean, look at what he did to Callum Smith. Jumped on him, really. That was a quick start by Beterbiev, who previously had started quite slowly, like he did with Anthony Yard. Yard gave him a sort of semi-problems, didn't he? And then when he fought Smith, I think Beterbiev had kind of learnt his lesson. And against Bivol didn't really let him start that quick. But you could still tell that Beterbiev was constantly looking, as he always does, to put pressure on you. And the pressure, of course, as we keep saying, with good pressure fighters who are not just based on crude strength, but actually box their way and use the jab, use their feet to position themselves and let their hands go. They will drain you mentally. They will drain you psychologically. And Bivol, fortunately for him, is extremely mentally strong and needed to be. Hence the reason he lasted the distance. And there were a couple of rounds late in that first fight when I thought Beterbiev was beginning to sting Bivol a bit. Not really shake him badly, but you got the feeling that Bivol needed to, stem the tide a little bit. Beterbiev, even though the age he is and the weight he fights at, he's an incredible engine. So, and we know, as I mentioned before, Bivol's done 12 rounds. It's like falling off a log to him. He don't give a fuck, He's like, what the hell, 12 rounds, yeah, no problem. I'll do that in my sleep, Beterbiev, yeah, I mean, what's he going to do? He's going to try and do just what I've described, the same thing. Pressure, drain the opposition mentally and physically, land hurtful punches, probably individuals to start with. Then he'll start letting his hands go in combinations more. I don't think he'll be able to start quickly against Bivol again. Bivol will be on it. Bivol, box, angles, sidestep, try to make Beterbiev constantly reset. He's going to have to get past the jab of Beterbiev. But if it becomes a jab fest, don't bet against Bivol. He's got a very good jab himself. It's not as hurtful as Beterbiev's, but it is consistent and it's very accurate. And so I think basically we're going to get the first fight over again. Same thing. Which, of course, begs the question, how does it go? Well, look, I picked Bivol to win on points first time round. They're both orthodox fighters. And you know what? I'm going to stick with that. I'm going to say that I'm going to be right this time. I'm going to pick Bivol to win on points. 113, 115, 113, something like that. Maybe 116, 112 in there. Might be a majority decision, could be a split decision. But I think Bivol gets it this time. I think he'll and I think he'll probably win it in the last third of the fight down the stretch this time. At some point, Beterbiev is going to have to not get old, but slow down a bit. And that weight, at the age he is, at some point, he's going to have to, something's got to give, not by much, because it'll only take a couple of percent dip for Bivol to maybe pinch a few more rounds. I think that might happen in this fight. And I think Bivol's got a point to prove now. He lost that first fight. He's gonna think I've got to do a bit more now, be a bit more consistent. maybe land a few more hurtful punches. And I don't think it'll be reckless by any stretch of the imagination, but I think it'll be pretty much even Stevens for the first 8 or 9 rounds. And then I think in the last third of the fight, Bivol will pull ahead ever so slightly and win a very close decision. So I'm going for Bivol for those reasons. You let me know what you think. Comments below as usual. Please subscribe to the channel. Hit the like button. Do all that stuff I always talk about. And thank you as always for your time and for leaving your comments. I always like reading them. We've got a hell of a card, haven't we, on Saturday to look forward to. And this is the main event. And let's be honest, all of the undercard fights could be main events themselves, just about. But anyway, I'm looking forward to your comments. Thank you very much. Peace. Bye for now.